Showtime!
Ladies and gentlemen, please make your way to your seats.
Showtime!
Please make your way to your seats. The show is about to begin.
Showtime!
Let the magic begin.
Welcome back to Future Tech, your weekly source for the latest in tech and innovation and business. I'm the startup coach, and as always, I'm joined by my co-host, John Irwin. How you doing, John?
Good, Craig. How are you? How are things?
Things are good. I'm busy. I'm behind on almost everything, but there's a lot of cool stuff going on with what I'm doing and some of my new clients, and there's a lot of cool stuff going on with tech.
For sure, yeah.
And it's going to take me a few seconds to set up this first one.
When you, as you're setting it up, I'm going to have to pick your brain since you're a really good expert in pitch decks. So I'm going to have to pick your brain at some point. But let's dive right in.
Absolutely. Anytime. I just went over a person's pitch deck not too long ago, like yesterday.
Yeah.
And I want to get into this. So this first article comes from Interesting Engineering. World's first mental images extracted from the human brain
using AI. Yeah. So
yeah. And I'm just like, this isn't, they're not talking about images of the brain. They're talking about,
yeah. So
what you're thinking about.
The second I read this, I was like, this is cool because maybe this is an alternative to an invasive surgery of Neuralink. So let's dive in and maybe we can get into it. So the research was conducted by a team in Japan. It was led by scientists from the National Institutes for Quantum Science and Technology in Osaka. The goal was to develop a new brain decoding technology using artificial intelligence to translate patterns of human brain activity into visualized mental images. So they sought to advance beyond previous work that could only recreate images a person had actually seen. In this study, though, what the participants first had was they had their brain activity measured using a functional MRI, which is a functional magnetic resonant imaging, while passively viewing a large data set of around 1,200 natural images. What this did was it provided a mapping of the neural correlations with different visual stimuli. And for those that don't know, an fMRI, or a functional magnetic resonant imaging, it works by detecting changes in blood oxygenation and flow that occur in response to neural activity in the brain or spinal cord of living subjects. So active brain regions consume more oxygen and blood compared to surrounding tissues. Makes sense. And this information can be used to infer neuronal activity. I know I always have a hard time with saying that word. It doesn't directly detect electrical activity, but it is based on different properties of oxyhemoglobin and deoxyhemoglobin within the vascular supply of the brain. So the researchers, what they did in this study was they trained a generative AI model, specifically a GAN, which is a generative adversarial network, on this brain image mapping data. The GAN was able to learn representations of how visual concepts are encoded in patterns of neuroimaging signals. In these tests, they had participants merely image or recall images without any visuals presented, while again monitoring their brain activity via fMRI. So by analyzing these imagery-related activation patterns through the lens of the trained AI model, the researcher system was able to reconstruct rough sketches resembling the mental images held in mind by each individual, which is pretty cool. Some examples of fairly accurate recreation of a leopard image, discerning features, they showed its ears and spots, as well as producing a sketch of an airplane with wing lights. So it's a cool proof of concept that may one day we get somewhere further with this. But it was really cool.
Yeah, I think this is straight out of a sci-fi fantasy world. So just to go through the experimentation. So they programmed the AI with a bunch of images.
Yeah.
they hooked some sort of put some sort of helmet on my head with sensors.
Yep.
And then showed me 1,200 images and then mapped my brain as I saw those images. And they showed these to all these different participants. And then later they were able now to, I assume using the same kind of helmet, not just from across the room, pull up pictures of what they think I'm thinking about.
Yeah. And the thing that baffles me is how are they converting what it's reading into the actual image? And obviously it's using the AI, but I'd love to get into some of the details, into the weeds of how it's actually doing that.
Yeah, I'm curious because odds are it's not actually going to look a lot like what you're looking at. What it's done is they're saying, okay, this, when he's looking at tigers, a tiger sitting looks like this, a tiger standing looks like this, a tiger, whatever. And your mental brain is lit up a certain way.
Yeah.
And so I'm not sure if it can tell the difference between, say, a running tiger and a sitting tiger and a sleeping tiger. But if they showed us these pictures and mapped our brain through these things, then was teaching the AI based on these same images, and then, feeding it much more images around those same animals, saying, hey, these are all tigers sitting, these are all this, these are all that. So when someone's thinking about a tiger, go nuts and extract from all these things.
Yeah. The one question I have with this is, what about someone with ADHD? So who have a million thoughts going, someone with myself who has ADHD, who has a million thoughts and can think of a leopard and can look at these pictures, but like, how quickly can it pick up on what I'm thinking? So like if they were to put it on someone with ADHD, I'm thinking about a leopard, but maybe I'm also thinking about a lion because it relates to a leopard, or maybe I'm thinking about a leopard eating a giraffe, or like how people, like, there's a million thoughts going on in their heads.
Okay, so if we're looking at these images, I agree with you, because the one on the left apparently is the targeted image, and the one on the right is the reconstructed image. So sounds like we got a little ways to go.
Oh, for sure.
But
that's with normal people brains.
Fair enough. And I agree. And we're talking about ADHD. I kind of feel like it's, at least with me, it's there's this wall of noise. Yeah. And you have to kind of push it back to focus on these things. And so you're right. You get constantly, your signal to noise ratio is constantly disrupted, and it takes a lot to focus. And how do things like this translate those things when the signal to noise ratio is so high?
Yeah.
When it's, you're not focused on all these things, you're constantly, all these thoughts are constantly on your brain, and you're like, no, I need to focus on this. Please leave me alone.
Exactly. Yeah. Like, you could be thinking about a leopard or whatever, but at the same time, you could be thinking about, oh, how fast does a leopard run? Oh, where are they found? And like,
did I leave the garage door open? Or am I going to go for a ride later? John mentioned sun. What's the temperature like? What do I need to wear? Yeah. Well, wait a minute. While you're still, because your brain is like going on these adventures, it wants to take any one of these things and run away. And you're like, no, we need to stay right here, right where we are, and apparently create images like this.
Exactly. I bet you if they would put it on someone like you or I, that image would not look even close to whatever that is on the right there. But anyways, we'll have to see.
This seems like it's definitely very interesting technology, and the fact that I look at this images and I don't know, could I tell that's a tiger? Could you tell that's a tiger on the right?
You can tell there's ears,
and there's a mouth, but
it looks more like a camel.
That's what. So is this a blurring of fine-tuning of the frequencies probably, or is this bad training of the AI, or is this just guesswork on part of the AI?
Well, I think it could be a guesswork on part of the AI for sure, and that's the thing too, is and if you look back to like Dolly, right, when Dolly first came out, the images of actual things looked horrible, and so I think, yeah, again, how much of the question is though is how much of this is actually translating and how much of it is guesswork, like as far as making assumptions from the AI's perspective, right?
Yeah, I think there's a long way to go, but if they're just getting to here, this is great. Now we got to say, okay, do we need to finally more tune the database and the sensors? You know, are there better sensors to be using? Can you get better feedback from different things? Should be calibrating, you know, not just maybe there's other things from the fMRI framework they need to be looking at.
Yeah, exactly.
But, you know, I'm encouraged by these things because now, you know, you start to look at, as we kind of mentioned, I think at least at one point we're talking, a far enough advanced technology is looks like magic to the person who doesn't understand it.
Mm-hmm.
And now we're looking at, okay, well, people are going to actually be able to know what you're thinking at. You'll be walking through a lobby and the security won't be looking at monitors of people. They'll be looking at images of what you're thinking about on the monitors to know, oh, this guy, we got to watch this one.
Yeah. He's got an image of a bomb in his head or
so
people dying or
you know, this is not, I don't think all that far away if we're at here now, because this is iterative. And then, you know, how do we map that to the brain patterns? And that we have phones on us all the time. We got the Apple Vision Plus and all these glasses. We have all the sensors close enough to our head that we're getting pretty close to be able to get a lot of information without needing a specific helmet.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we'll get there. Obviously, there's but the technology is still in its infancy. But I'm interested to see if this can be a better solution or alternative solution to Neuralink.
Yeah, but again, Neuralink is a thing in the head. What is now? Do people have to wear hats, or is this something that, like, what is it that we're going to have to do to replace the sensor that Neuralink would replace?
Yeah, I don't know, but I all I know is, like, at least with an fMRI, like, at least it's non-invasive, right? And so it reads magnetic signals from outside the head. So you don't require surgery for this. But how big is that device? And that's where we have to get into how small can they make this device? Will it look like a hat, or, you know, or is it just going to be a big, huge helmet?
Yeah, they don't really talk about the tools they use to do this from a size point of view. You know, based on everything we talked about, I assume it's almost the size of a MRI machine taking up a whole room. And
at this point,
versus being able to have it in a hat or whatnot. And then, you know, who do we want to be subjugated to these things? Do we want everyone trying to read out what we're thinking all the time? Are we going to have tinfoil hats or whatever? We're actually going to want to wear them because
maybe those guys with the tinfoil hats knew something from back in the day.
Wow, that was amazing. And it's all just like
See you later, alligator.